Ni ma zhe la ye zhe nam be zhe da da ye zhe nam da ran yi be ye ge ma zhe la ye zhe ye ha da bi chi de ma ku ne ge zhe ga ji ge zhe da me la ge zhe zhe ni ma da ye be ji ye ba ra zhe ma ha ran yi zhe da la ye zhe de zhe be zhe ne zhe zhe de de ye zhe da ge be zhe be da ye da de ma zhe zhe de ni zhe na zhe ba de zhe zong yan duwa de dan chang zhe wan ni zhe zhe ji guo wa le zhen da re man du da ra ye ji yan zhe du re na wa na la zhe ma yim la cha zhe lo om da re du da re du re zo wa om da re du da re du re zo om da re du da re du re zo wa om da re du da re du re zo wa om da re du da re du re zo Om dare du dare du re zo wa om dare du dare du re zo om dare du dare du re zo wa om dare du dare du re zo wa om dare du dare du re zo re zo wa om dare du dare du re zo wa om dare du dare du re om dare du dare du re zo wa om dare du dare du re zo wa ge wan de ye da da yi je guo lon zo no wa je ya ma le ba de ye za la ge wa zhen de mi chi we zhe ma no wa nan de ye me la yi je guo so wen do ne je da ba zhe ne ji me ren je nyu zhu ba zhe gang ge du zhe ye zo nian da wan dam je bong be je dam be zhe nian de zhe wo dam de la cha zhe lo o mu ni ma mu ni ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye zo om mani mani ma mani ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye zo om mani mani ma mani ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye ma mani ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye zo wa om mani mani ma mani ye zo Oh, money, money, ma, money is all. 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 Oh, money, money, ma. Is all. Oh, money, money, ma, money is all. Oh, money, money, ma, money is. Ma money is all. Money, money, ma, money is all. Oh, 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 money. Oh, money, money, ma, money is all. 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 Oh, money, money, ma. Ma money is oh money money 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 ma money is Oh, money, money, ma, money is all. 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 Money is all. Oh, money, money, money is all. Oh, money. Oh, money, money, money is all. Oh, money, money, money is all. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani 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 Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani 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 Zawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni 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 Zawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Mani Zawa, Mani 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 Zawa, Om Mani Mani Om
Mani Mani Mahamani Swaha.
Mani Mani Zawa, Om Mani 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 Zawa, Om Mani Mani Zawa, Om Mani 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 Zawa, Om Mani 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 Zawa. Om Mani 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 Zawa, Om Mani 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 Zawa, Om Mani 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 Om Mani 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 Zawa, 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 Om Mani 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 Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani 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 Ma Mani Zawa, Om 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 Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om 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 Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa. Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Zawa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, 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 Om Zowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, 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 Om Mani Mani Ma Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Om Mani Ma Mani Yezowa, Enge Wandi, Nyodo Da, Tuwa Sange, Ndubyo, Nduwa Zi, Mani Zala Geva.
We are reciting the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was staying at Rajgriha at Vajapayag along with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas, and at that time the Blessed One entered the meditative absorption on the varieties of phenomena called the appearance of the profound. At that time, as well, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, clearly beheld the practice with the profound perfection of wisdom itself and saw that even 5 aggregates are empty of intrinsic existence. Thereupon, through the Buddha's inspiration, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and said, "How should any son or noble son or noble daughter who wishes to engage in the perfection of wisdom train?" When this had been said, the holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, spoke to Venerable Shariputra, said, "Shariputra, any noble son or noble daughter who so wishes to engage in the profound practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should clearly see this way. They should see perfectly that even the 5 aggregates are empty of intrinsic existence. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form too is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty, and they are without defining characteristics. They are not born, they do not cease, they are not defiled, they are not undefiled, they are not deficient, and they are not complete. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no mental formation, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no mind. There is no form, no smell, no sound, no smell, no taste, no texture, and no mental objects. There is no I element, and so on up to no mind element, including up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance. There is no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origination, cessation, no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and even no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since bodhisattvas have no attainments, they rely on this perfection of wisdom and abide in it. having no obscuration in their mind. They have no fear, and by going utterly beyond error, they will reach the end of nirvana. All the Buddhas too, who abide in the 3 times, attained full awakening and unexcelled perfect enlightenment by relying on this profound perfection of wisdom. Therefore, one should know that the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unexcelled mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that quells all suffering, is true because it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is clear, proclaimed that Yathagate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva, Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, the great being, should train the perfection of wisdom in this way. Thereupon the Blessed One rose from that meditative absorption and commended the holy Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, the great being, saying, "Excellent, excellent, O noble child, it is just so, it should be just so. One must practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have revealed." And then even the Tathagatas will rejoice. As the Blessed One uttered these words, the Venerable Shariputra, the holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, along with the entire assembly, including the worlds of gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, all rejoiced and hailed what the Blessed One had said. Next is mandala offering. Om Vajrabhumi Ahum, the foundation is quite vast and strong. The ground is gold. Om Vajrarekha Ahum. The boundary is a ring of iron mountains. Here is Mount Sumeru, king of mountains, in the center. In the east, there is Purva Vedeha. In the south, Jambudvipa. In the west, Apara Godaniya. In the north, Uttarakuru. And then to each of these 2 sides of these 4 continents, we have to the east Deha and Videha, to the south Chamara and Apara Chamara, to the west Shata and Uttaramantrina, to the north Kurava and Kaurav. Here are the Jewel Mountains. To the east, the wishing tree in the west, the bountiful cow in the south, and the wishing tree in the south, the bountiful cow in the west, and then the spontaneous harvest. The precious wheel, this is the precious jewel, the queen, the precious queen, minister, elephant, precious horse, precious general, the precious vase, great wealth, vase of great wealth. And then the lady of charm, lady garland, lady of song, lady of dance, lady of flower, lady of incense, and so forth. And this offered to the teacher, all the teachers of the lineage, Dharma lineage, and in particular to you, Your Holiness, who is the complete master of the doctrine, refuge and protector, Lord of conquerors, omniscient and all-seeing, and glorious and noble Lord, that from your lips we may receive this profound Mahayana teaching. Accept it with your compassion for the sake of all beings, and accepting it, grant your blessings, we pray. This ground anointed with scented water and strewn with flowers, adorned with Sumeru, the king of mountains, the 4 continents, and the sun and the moon. Thinking of it is visualizing it as a blessed Buddha filled, we offer it to you. May all beings enjoy the perfect, pure Buddha filled. Idam Guru Ratna Mandal Kamniyatayami. Let us first say the blessing for the tea. So the verse that was recited for the blessing of the tea and bread was, your body is created from billion perfect factors of goodness. Your speech satisfies the yearnings of countless sentient beings. Your mind perceives all objects of knowledge exactly as they are. I make offering of this tea and bread to you, O chief of the Shakya clan. So instead of saying, I bow my head to you, the word has been changed to making offering of the tea and bread. His Holiness is asking about translators. Where are they? So today, to my Dhamma brothers and sisters, today is the time when the Buddha became enlightened. The Buddha Bhagavan. And regarding us, we are the followers of the Buddha, the teacher. And in a sutra, it says, the sages do not wash away the sins of beings, nor do they do not remove their suffering with their hands, nor do they transfer their own realization into others. But the Buddhas, of course, they have the intention to share, to teach, or to lead sentient beings out of the suffering. So the Buddhas have compassion, Bodhichitta, and so they cannot wash away the sins or non-virtuous actions of sentient beings with water. Of course, the Buddhas cannot stand the suffering of sentient beings, but the suffering of sentient beings cannot be removed by his hands. And he cannot give, like sharing something he cannot transfer his realizations into others. But then, for many eons, if the Buddha had dedicated himself thinking of benefiting sentient beings and accumulated merit and wisdom for over 3 countless eons, and then finally became a Buddha, an enlightened one, and how does he help sentient beings overcome suffering? The answer is, he shows us what the cause of suffering is, and whether that cause can be eradicated or not. So he cannot transfer his realization into others, but because suffering does not arise without causes and conditions, suffering happens because of its causes and conditions. And if you look at the cause, try to see what that cause is. That is not something like a creator God, but because of this uncontrolled and undisciplined mind. And because of that, we are overcome with anger and hatred and attachment and so forth, and thereby create actions or karma. So with regard to the how to go about with the dharma, the teaching of the Buddha, as this verse, as it is said, that things are merely designated, but they do not have any independent objective existence. But when we look at things, that things appear to have some kind of objective independent existence, and then we accordingly grasp at that way of appearance of the things, as if they have some existence from their own side. So that perception of grasping and clinging on to some objective independent existence in things is a distorted view. So pleasure and pain do not happen because of without any causes. So even the non-Buddhist traditions also say that suffering and pleasure comes from causes and conditions. So with regards to our experiences of pain and pleasure, why do they happen to us is because of our wrong outlook, distorted outlook on how things exist. And therefore the Buddha came out with the teaching on the Four Noble Truths, saying suffering must be known, the cause of suffering, origin of suffering must be eradicated, this true cessation must be actualized, and then the path must be cultivated. So, of course, we are not aware of the very subtle forms of suffering, but suffering can be categorized into the obvious painful experiences, which are called suffering of suffering, and then suffering of change, and then the pervasive conditioning, existential suffering. So suffering does not happen without any causes and conditions, but it comes through causes and conditions. And the causes of suffering are twofold. One is action, as the origin or cause, and then the other is kleshas, or mental afflictions. So now the question is whether there is an antidote to this origin of suffering, and whether that antidote can eliminate and eradicate these causes of suffering. So the Buddha taught that all phenomena, everything is devoid of any substantial self, and that they are empty. So because our distorted state of mind causes suffering to us, and therefore we need to overcome and eradicate the karma and mental afflictions which are the causes of suffering. So these are in turn of the two, the mental afflictions are the main cause, because all the karma go back to that. And so we need to put effort in trying to reduce the cause of suffering, karma, and the delusions. And mainly the delusions must be countered. So what opposes that delusion, if there is an opposition to it, then if you increase the strength of that counterforce of the delusions, then these delusions will be reduced. So things appear to us as if they have some objective independent existence, existing from their own side. When we become attached or angry at something or somebody, we immediately say, that is the cause of my anger or attachment. Or when you have an attachment, you kind of perceive that object or the person as having that beauty. So, however strong and powerful these distorted states of mind may be, when they are countered by their antidote, they will naturally be reduced in their strength. So, though you may be at a young age, you may be somebody who's a really angry person, but as you grow up, from your experience, you see how bad anger is. And because of that awareness, and also because other people, your friends, will always say, oh, that is a short-tempered person. And so by seeing the faults of this anger, then instead of anger, if you are told that the person whom you become angry at, you need to actually show love or compassion. Then for Tibetans, we become angry because Chinese people have been atrocious to us. But instead of becoming angry at the perpetrators, if you think from the point of view of these people, the perpetrators themselves are like us, human beings. They are overpowered and overwhelmed by their own mental afflictions and negative emotions and so forth. And because of that, they cause us suffering. Then you will, instead of becoming angry, you will become compassionate towards them. And then we also have arrogance within ourselves, pride and arrogance. And all these negative emotions, if you really think closely, then what you actually will be able to see is that all the different kinds of unwanted experiences that you go through finally actually are caused by your own unruly mind, and therefore you feel other sentient beings as those who are actually helping you in your spiritual journey. And so you will not actually, look upon yourself as someone greater than, better than others, as the 8 verses of mind training says. And you'll be able to see yourself. As the text says, with the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings who surpass even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. And so, thinking along, and then also whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. And so you will be able to show humility. And so I also do not consider myself as somebody, special, and that I always try to be humble. And when you look at yourself as lower than others and have humility, you will not have arrogance or anger. So when you see others as being human beings like yourself, with all kinds of defects and faults, you will not also disregard them. So I do not have that pride thinking that I'm someone special. I always practice bodhicitta and the view of emptiness. And so, as we say, if you hold a low profile and if you hold yourself low as someone lower than others, that is actually the seat of your higher qualities. And so it is always better to show humility rather than anger. So the low seat, as we say, holding yourself lowly, lower than others, showing respect to others, will actually lead you to a higher position. So if you are able to live your life accordingly, without anger and arrogance and so forth, it will be better, because with anger and arrogance and so forth, if you and with the sense that you are somebody better and more special than others, I mean, you'll be the loser. So what you should do is never let yourself be swayed by or overpowered by these mental afflictions, the kleshas. So the teaching of the Buddha himself and the great masters who have explained the teaching of the Buddha unmistakably, we have these teachings from them which show the method of overcoming these mental afflictions, the negative emotions and so forth. So it is very important for all of us, whichever tradition we may be following. The masters of the Sakya, Nyingma, Kagyu, Gelug have showed us all this path to overcome our negative emotions, these mental afflictions. So we should always try to apply this teaching to them, within ourselves. So, of course, in Tibet, before Buddhism came to Tibet, Burn tradition was there, and then later Buddhism spread. And then we have the different traditions, Sakya, Nyingma, Gelug, Kagyu, and so forth. And then amongst these different traditions, there was a Kadampa tradition, tradition following the in the footsteps of Master Atisha. So the masters of the Kadam tradition were always holding themselves low, and without arrogance towards others. And so when they held themselves low, they actually became those who sat on a higher throne, ultimately. And so Geshe Langri Thangpa, the author of this 8 verses of mind training, also practiced in that way. So, for reasons of becoming and gaining name and fame, of course, it's not good if you do that. So, you should always hold yourself low. So it says, whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as lowest, and from the depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. So we'll go through this text, the 8 verses of mind training the mind. So I recite it every day since a long time. And Geshe Langri Thangpa, the author himself, was always meditating on Bodhichitta and thinking of, since he was concerned with the suffering of all sentient beings, it is said that he always remained crying. And so because of that, he was called the Langtangpa, Langtang, who had a serious face all the time. So literally, Ngonakpa means black face, but someone who is not cheerful all the time. But because of the practice of Bodhichitta, of course, he had this great determination and the courage to work for others. But outwardly, he would always hold himself the lowest. So with the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings who surpass even the wish-fulfilling jewel, may I hold them dear at all times, whenever I interact with someone, and may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the depths of my heart respectfully hold others as superior. And then 3rd verse, so whatever you are doing, whether going here and there, or sleeping, or resting, and so forth, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, wherever these mental afflictions arise, you need to see how to counter that through their own antidotes. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as many mental and emotional afflictions arise as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, so of course all human beings are same as in terms of being humans, but we see all kinds of suffering and pain that people go through. And on top of their physical pain and so forth, they are causing more suffering because of their own attitude. And so may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jewel treasure. So when others criticize you, use all kinds of abusive words, languages, and so forth, if you can actually accept that and do not try to retaliate, it will be best. When others, out of jealousy, treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped, or in whom I have placed great hopes, mistreat me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. So, regarding the perpetrators of Tibetans, the Chinese, who used all sorts of atrocious means to cause suffering to Tibetans and destroying Tibetan culture and religion, instead of becoming angry at them, I always feel compassion to them because of they are doing all these negative actions out of their ignorance, and also because of not being able to see the reality, and they have their own short-sightedness, and narrow-mindedness, because of which, due to which they cause all these problems and difficulties. So, of course, there are many Chinese leaders, communist leaders, who criticize me and Tibetan culture and religion. Instead of becoming angry at them, I feel compassion for them. So, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreat me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. So whatever virtuous practices you may have done, dedicate them for the well-being of all sentient beings, temporary as well as lasting benefit and happiness from the depths of your heart. Dedicate them for their well-being, the short-term and long-term, lasting. In brief, may I offer the benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly secretly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. So here secretly means that you are not trying to show off to your practice to others, but deep in your heart you are doing these practices yourself in the sense of the practice of taking and giving, Tonglen. And then this last verse, may all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 world mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusion-like, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. So clinging here refers to clinging to some, clinging at true independent existence in things. So you're saying you will do your best to practice this and cultivate the view of emptiness, and through your experience be able to share this experience with others who are not able to counter the cause of their suffering, but actually are enthusiastic about creating those causes. So with this, we are done with the oral transmission of this text, the 8 verses of mind training. As I said earlier, the author, Langri Thangpa, Geshe Langri Thangpa, was someone who always meditated on Bodhichitta and cried by observing the suffering of sentient beings, and therefore he was called Lang Thangpa, the serious-faced one. So among the teaching of the Buddha, so what is the main cause of Buddha himself, reaching that enlightenment? It is that of Bodhichitta, the altruistic spirit of enlightenment. So with that in the mind of Bodhichitta, the Buddha himself went through the process of accumulating merit and wisdom over 3 countless eons. So because of this Bodhichitta, the Buddha himself became a fully enlightened being, and therefore we as followers of the Buddha himself we must also make Bodhichitta our main practice. So you should cultivate and develop Bodhichitta to such an extent that you also, become like Geshe Thangpa, be in tears when thinking about the suffering of other sentient beings. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, I also meditate on Bodhichitta, cultivate Bodhichitta, and because of that, I also am in tears. So the final message of the Buddha is to contemplate bodhicitta. Message to us. So it's not just thinking of reaching a state where you have overcome all the mental afflictions, the kleshas, but to reach the full enlightenment of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So you should have the determination to push yourself through to the end of your path, that is Buddhahood, through the practice of bodhicitta. And so with this we have finished the teaching on the eight verses of training the mind. So may all this remain undefiled by the stains of eight mundane concerns, and so forth. So when you have bodhicitta within yourself, you feel at ease with yourself, with all these negative thoughts and emotions like anger, hatred, jealousy, and so forth. Without all these, you become relaxed and feel at ease, and you'll be able to sleep better. It's very peaceful. You'll have very peaceful and sound sleep. And as people who believe in Avalokiteshvara, we can also, as you go to sleep, for example, you may also think of Avalokiteshvara on your head, and whatever the great positive qualities Arya Avalokiteshvara has, may I also be able to develop them, cultivate them within myself. And with such a state of mind, if you go to sleep, you'll have a very peaceful, sound sleep. So this is the explanatory transmission of the 8 verses of mind training. Next, we'll do the 8 bodhicitta. So the Buddha gave the teaching on the 4 Noble Truths, and then the teaching on the perfection of wisdom, and then the third turning of the wheel of Dharma. So we have all these teachings with us extant, but the essence of all these teachings of the Buddha is bodhicitta. Even if the Buddha were to come today, he would advise us to cultivate bodhicitta, and then our past masters, the masters of our lineage, have the same message, would have the same message. And we have different texts to cultivate bodhicitta. So as I said, all of us, including down to the small insects and ants and insects, all of us do not want suffering but want happiness. So how do you go about with the practice of bringing benefit, happiness to oneself and others, and overcoming suffering? Ultimately, the cause is bodhicitta. So, of course, we have heard about bodhicitta, and when we are happy and joyful, if we can think about it, it would be very fortunate for us to do so. And then wherever the Dharma has not spread, this precious Dharma has not spread before, but also wherever it has spread before but declined, so with regard to the second line, the teaching where the teaching has spread but declined, of course the decline happens because of our own neglect, and then also through others. For example, the communist Chinese destroying religion. So, of course, they are ignorant about what practices are to be adopted, the good practices, and what negative ones to be shunned. They are ignorant about this. And so, with the sense of Bodhichitta, we will take, with this understanding of the benefit of Bodhichitta and compassion, we'll do the ceremony for Bodhichitta, generating Bodhichitta. So, of course, all kinds of thoughts arise in our mind, negative as well as positive. But we have this potential, the ability to think positively in terms of bodhicitta. So to benefit all sentient beings, for the benefit and the well-being of all sentient beings across the expanse of space, you think of becoming a Buddha for them. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, I also go through this process of using the ritual for bodhicitta and cultivate bodhicitta. So my brothers, Dhamma brothers and sisters also. So it is very important for us also to cultivate bodhicitta, thinking of all sentient beings across the expanse of space, as infinite as the space itself, and to benefit them and to think of benefiting, reaching Buddhahood for their sake. First, we'll do the seven limb practice. You line among humans, go into freedom in the 3 times in the worlds of 10 directions. To you all with body, speech, and mind. Sincere mind, I bow down with the energy of aspiration to the Bodhisattva way, with the sense of deep respect, and with as many bodies as atoms of the world. To all Buddhas visualize this real, I bow down. On every atom of Buddhas, numberless as atoms, each amidst a host of Bodhisattvas, and I confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with Buddhas. In this way, with infinite oceans of praise for you and oceans of sound from the aspects of my voice, I sing the breathtaking excellence of Buddhas and celebrate all of you going to blaze. Beautiful flowers, regal garlands, sweet music, scented oils, parasols, sparkling light, sublime incense I offer to you, victorious one. Fine dress, fragrant perfumes, sandalwood powder heaped as high as Mount Meru. All wondrous offerings in spectacular array I offer to you, and so forth. So the Buddha, of course, is our teacher of this Buddhist tradition that we have. So because of having the Buddha nature within himself, and the Buddha was able to train himself through the path, spiritual path, and become Buddha, a fully awakened one. So this Buddha nature, the Tathagata Garbha, is also there within ourselves. Therefore, by studying as someone who followed the Buddha and through study and practice of his teaching, all the different negativities, the defilements and so forth that we have accumulated since time beginningless, we need to overcome them and reach the goal of full enlightenment like the Buddha himself. So with that aspiration, let us do this practice of taking refuge. And Bodhichitta, I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Supreme Community. Please repeat. Until I am enlightened. Through the collections of merit and wisdom gained by giving and others, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Community until I attain enlightenment. Through collections of merit and wisdom gained by giving and others, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Community until I attain enlightenment. Through the two collections of merit and wisdom gained by giving and others, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. So with this, we have generated the Buddha Bodhichitta, and we have already done the teaching on the 8 verses of mind training. So many people from different countries have gathered here, and the essence of the Dharma is Bodhichitta. I also make this my main practice. It gives me a peaceful state of mind and a good physical health as well. And so this is really practical means of helping oneself as well. And so if you make this practice of bodhicitta your daily practice, it would be worthwhile having this life, and you will make this life a meaningful one, and our meeting here also would be made meaningful. And so, if you strive and persevere in cultivating bodhicitta, you'll also see the benefits of is feeling at ease with yourself, within peace of mind and good health. And so that's all for the teaching today. This Thanksgiving mandala. So this prayer is a prayer to the Dharma protectors of Tibet, such as Tsering Chenga and so forth, who were oath-bound, who are all oath-bound since the time of Guru Padmasambhava and other masters. It's invoking the Dharma Palas of Tibet. They're making offering to them and respecting them, and then asking them to keep the oath that they have given to Master Padmasambhava and so forth, and bring peace and happiness in the land of snows, and especially help the Lord of Tibet, Avalokiteshvara, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and other masters of Tibet have a long life to dispel all the obstacles to their life. Next, we have the prayer So this prayer is for the flourishing of the Dharma. It goes through, it recounts, the Buddha here recounts his past deeds as bodhisattvas, having gone through the practice of the 6 perfections, such as giving away, like for example, the story of, it recounts the story of Vishwantara or Vesantara, who gave away his elephant of his country, kingdom, a precious elephant, and then his children, wife, and so forth. And then practicing morality, and then also practicing patience, and enthusiastic joy, joyful effort, and then concentration, samadhi, and wisdom. And then at the end there's verses of dedication for the Dharma and the tradition of the Tibetan tradition of Lama Tsongkhapa and so forth to flourish. And next is the word of truth, prayer of the word of truth by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So here the prayer pays homage to the three jewels first, and then it says, "You whose glory is in an ocean of immeasurable qualities, and who looks upon poor beings as if they were your only child, Sugatas of the past, present, and future, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and your disciples, pray heed these lamentations of truth." And then it prays for the Dharma to flourish in the whole wide world, and also the Dharma upholders, the practitioners and scholars to flourish in their 10 practices, the 10 Dharma activities. And then, utterly oppressed by the intolerable intensity of their negative actions, deprived beings are tortured by interminable suffering, pacify their unbearable disease, wars, and famines, and bring them the succor of infinite joy and well-being. And then it also prays for the beings of Tibet to be free from the suffering that are brought about by the evil barbarian hordes, malevolent and heartless, and bathe the Tibetans in blood and tears, the rivers of blood and tears. And with this, the compassion of Avalokiteshvara is aroused. And especially the Avalokiteshvara's compassion is aroused to Avalokiteshvara is invoked to bring the wisdom in the minds of those perpetrators who destroy the Dharma of Tibet and Buddhism. And then we pray to Avalokiteshvara to bring true happiness in the land of snows.
सारा फोटो भी खिंची लिया अगर कभी कभी यार
Tagadis. चलो